Check your car. Camp. The security camera footage displayed my spouse in the act of infidelity with another individual within our marital bed at precisely 2:47 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. This occurred while I was purportedly engaged in the installation of kitchen cabinetry across town. My name is Dave Mitchell, aged 42, and I manage a bespoke furniture enterprise from the confines of my garage. While it may not be a career of immense prestige, it certainly provides the necessary income to sustain our household and ensure that my wife, Lydia, and our 16-year-old daughter, Maya, have food on the table. At least that was the case, until I witnessed the dissolution of my marriage unfold in vivid high definition on my laptop screen. "Dad, you look as though you've seen a phantom," Maya remarked, entering my workshop where I remained immobilized, fixated on the irrefutable evidence. "Just work-related matters, my dear. Nothing to concern yourself about." I swiftly closed the laptop, my hands trembling. "Shouldn't you be at your soccer practice?" "The coach cancelled. Mom isn't home yet and I'm famished. Could you possibly prepare me a sandwich?" I nodded absently, following her into the residence. The very same dwelling where Lydia had been entertaining her paramour merely 3 hours prior. The same bed where we had shared intimacy for 15 years. Where Maya, as a young child, would seek refuge during thunderstorms. Where I had supported Lydia through her father's grave battle with cancer 2 years ago. The kitchen now felt profoundly altered. Every aspect of my surroundings seemed different. "Earth to Dad," Maya said, waving her hand before my face. "You're behaving rather strangely." "Forgive me, kiddo. I was merely contemplating a project." I opened the refrigerator, finding solace in the mundane task. "Turkey and Swiss. Excellent. Oh, and Mom texted. She's working late again tonight. Some significant HR initiative at the office." Working late, indeed. I had installed those security cameras 3 weeks prior after our neighbor, Mrs. Feldman, had mentioned observing peculiar occurrences at our residence during the daytime. I had initially suspected a potential break-in. As it turned out, the only thing being violated was the sanctity of my marriage. I meticulously assembled Maya's sandwich with mechanical precision, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts. The individual depicted in the video was Chris Brennan, Lydia's colleague from the regional office. I had encountered him at company gatherings. He was tall, athletic, the sort of man who favored expensive cologne and discussed his CrossFit achievements. The type of person who made disparaging remarks about blue-collar individuals like myself. "Dad, you're applying an excessive amount of mustard to that sandwich." I glanced down. She was correct. I had been squeezing the bottle unconsciously, lost in a reverie of vengeance. After Maya had finished her meal and ascended to her room to attend to her homework, I retreated to my workshop to strategize. I possess a natural aptitude with my hands, skilled in construction and deconstruction. Tonight, my intention was to systematically dismantle my wife's seemingly perfect world. My first action was to contact my closest confidant, Eddie, the proprietor of Murphy's Tavern downtown. "Dave, what's transpiring, my friend?" "Eddie, I require a considerable favor." "Name it." "Could you provide an alibi for me should anyone inquire?" "State that I was at your establishment this evening from 6 o'clock until closing." A brief silence ensued. "Dave, what sort of predicament are you getting yourself into?" "The kind where I discover my wife is being unfaithful and subsequently require a justification for my impending actions." "Good heavens, are you absolutely certain about this?" "I have incontrovertible video evidence, Eddie. High definition with surround sound. The complete production." "That treacherous woman." "Yes, I've got your back. But Dave, do not do anything rash. Rest assured, I harbor no intentions of causing harm to anyone. However, I am resolved to ensure that everyone becomes fully cognizant of Lydia's true character. My subsequent call was to Lydia's parents. Judith and Alan Hartwell resided in the venerable Victorian structure on Maple Street, a property that had been in their lineage for 3 generations. They were individuals of considerable decorum, devout churchgoers, the sort who still held steadfast beliefs in marital fidelity and familial honor. "Hello, Alan. It is Dave. I need to discuss a matter of grave importance with you and Judith. May I call upon you this evening?" "Of course, son. Is everything satisfactory? You sound distressed. I shall elaborate upon my arrival. And Alan, you might consider advising Judith to be seated for this discussion." At precisely 7:30, I presented myself at the Hartwells' front entryway, my laptop bag in hand. Judith answered the door, her silver hair impeccably styled despite the advanced hour. "Dave, dear, please come in. Alan is in the parlor. Would you care for some coffee?" "No, thank you, Judith. However, I implore you to take a seat." We convened in their formal parlor, a space adorned with dark wood furnishings and ancestral portraits. I placed my laptop upon the coffee table situated between us. "I commissioned the installation of security cameras at our residence 3 weeks ago," I commenced. "I suspected a potential unauthorized entry. Instead, I uncovered something entirely different." I opened the laptop and angled it towards them. "This was recorded today at 2:47 in the afternoon." I initiated playback. Judith emitted a gasp and covered her mouth. Alan's complexion transformed from pale to flushed, then to an alarming shade of purple. "Turn it off, Judith," she pleaded softly. "Kindly discontinue the playback." I closed the laptop. There are additional hours of footage, from different days, depicting various scenarios. Alan rose abruptly, his fists clenched. "That is our daughter whom we raised to be a woman of virtue, a devoted wife. I sincerely regret that you have been subjected to this," I stated. "However, it was imperative for you to apprehend the truth prior to my undertaking the subsequent course of action." "What are your intentions, Dave?" Judith inquired, tears coursing down her cheeks. "I intend to ensure that everyone becomes aware of her transgressions. Her associates, her colleagues, all members of the congregation. I shall systematically dismantle her reputation, mirroring the manner in which she has devastated our marriage." Alan inclined his head slowly. "She has fashioned her own destiny. Now she must confront its consequences." "With Chris Brennan, evidently," I added. The following morning, I embarked upon the execution of my meticulously crafted plan. Firstly, I contacted my assistant, Rye, and informed him of my need to take a brief leave of absence due to a family emergency. Subsequently, I telephoned Lydia at her place of employment. "Hello, my dear," I began, endeavoring to maintain a semblance of normalcy in my voice. "I have secured a last-minute commission in Chicago, a substantial contract to create a custom dining room ensemble for a prominent technology executive. I shall be absent until Friday." "Oh," she responded, and I detected a palpable undercurrent of excitement that she struggled to conceal. That's wonderful, Dave. The additional remuneration will be most welcome." "Indeed. I depart this afternoon. Convey my affections to Maya when she returns from school." "Certainly. Travel safely." I concluded the call and immediately contacted Mrs. Feldman, our 70-year-old neighbor who possessed an uncanny ability to know everyone's affairs and was not reticent in disseminating such information. "Mrs. Feldman, this is Dave Mitchell from next door." "Oh, hello, dear. How are you?" "I am well, thank you. Listen, I will be traveling out of town for a few days on business, and I was wondering if you might possibly keep a watchful eye on the residence. Perhaps observe for any unusual activity. Without a doubt, dear. You are aware I am perpetually vigilant concerning the neighborhood. Exquisite. Mrs. Feldman possessed surveillance capabilities that rivaled those of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I spent the remainder of the day at Eddie's establishment, nursing a beer and awaiting developments. At 4 o'clock, my mobile device vibrated, displaying a text message from Lydia. Chris is joining us for dinner this evening to discuss the Henderson project. Do not await my arrival in Chicago. The Henderson project, of course. At 6 o'clock, I parked my vehicle 3 blocks distant from my residence and navigated through the wooded area behind our property. I had an unobstructed vantage point of our bedroom window from the venerable oak tree situated in our backyard, the very same arboreal specimen from which Maya's tire swing was suspended, and where we had inscribed our initials 20 years prior, when we were young, infatuated, and foolish. At 7:15, Chris's silver BMW glided into my driveway. I observed him approach my front entrance, bearing a bottle of wine and a bouquet of flowers. My flowers, presented to my wife within my domicile. I retrieved my mobile device and initiated a call to the residence. Lydia answered on the second ring. Hello. Greetings, my love. I merely wish to inform you that I have arrived safely in Chicago. Oh, that is good. I was just concluding some work with Chris. Chris is indeed present at our home. Yes, we are reviewing the Henderson files. You are aware of the complexities of that account, are you not? Indeed. Well, do not overexert yourself. I love you. Love you too. Goodbye. She terminated the call with haste. I could discern their presence through the living room window. Chris's hand was already resting upon her back, guiding her toward the stairway. I allowed 30 minutes to elapse, then initiated my maneuver. I retained possession of my house key, naturally. I stealthily entered through the front portal with the utmost quietude, discerning sounds emanating from upstairs that caused my stomach to churn. I tiptoed to the hall closet and retrieved my old baseball bat, a Louisville Slugger I had wielded during my high school years, the very one Lydia consistently bemoaned my keeping. Subsequently, I contacted Lydia's parents. Alan, it is Dave. I require your and Judith's immediate presence at the residence. Now. What is amiss? She is present with him at this very moment. We shall be there momentarily. I positioned myself on the front porch. The Hartwells arrived 10 minutes later, Alan's countenance etched with gravity. Judith clutched her handbag as if it were a defensive implement. Are you quite certain about this, Dave? Judith whispered. Listen, I implored. We stood there amidst the cool evening air, and the auditory emanations from our bedroom window were unmistakably explicit. Dear God, Judith breathed. I unlocked the front door. After you. We ascended the staircase in unison. 3 individuals united by a righteous indignation. The bedroom door was closed, yet unlocked. I turned the handle with deliberate slowness and pushed it inward. They were so engrossed in each other that they failed to notice our arrival initially. Chris was attired in my bathrobe, my favored garment, the one Lydia bestowed upon me as a Christmas present 3 years ago. Lydia was adorned only with the pearl necklace bequeathed to her by her grandmother. Well, well, I declared loudly. The Henderson project appears to involve a more intimate level of engagement than I had anticipated. Lydia emitted a shriek and lunged for the sheet. Chris sprang to his feet with such alacrity that he stumbled, crashing into my dresser and sending my collection of timepieces scattering across the floor. Dave! Lydia gasped. What are you doing? You are supposed to be in Chicago. Surprise, I replied. I have brought some companions. It was then that she perceived her parents standing behind me. Judith regarded her daughter with a mixture of profound horror and palpable disgust. Alan gazed upon Chris with unadulterated fury. "Mom, Dad, what are you doing here?" "We came to ascertain the character of the woman we raised," Alan articulated, his voice quivering with barely suppressed rage. "Evidently our efforts were in vain. Mr. Hartwell, Mrs. Hartwell, this is not indicative of the actual situation. It appears you are engaging in sexual relations with my daughter in her husband's bed while clad in his robe," Alan stated. "What precisely should it appear to be?" "I am eager to hear your explanation for this entire episode," I remarked, leaning against the doorframe with my arms crossed. "I am fascinated to learn how this is all a profound misunderstanding." She parted her lips, then closed them again. What plausible fabrication could she possibly offer? That she had somehow tripped and fallen onto Chris's anatomy. "You are repulsive," Judith declared softly. "Both of you, within this dwelling, within this very bed where my granddaughter was conceived." That statement resonated deeply. Lydia began to weep, though these were not tears of genuine contrition. They were the tears of an individual apprehended in the act, wallowing in self-pity. "Everyone needs to maintain composure," Chris interjected, having finally managed to don his trousers. "We can resolve this amicably, as adults." "Adults!" I scoffed. "Adults do not clandestinely engage in infidelity behind their spouse's back. Adults do not have intercourse with their colleague's wife in his own bed. Adults do not fabricate excuses about working late when, in reality, they are engaging in illicit activities with my spouse." "Dave, please," Lydia implored. "Can we discuss this in private?" "No," I countered. "Privacy is precisely what precipitated this predicament. Henceforth, all matters shall be conducted in the public sphere." Chris attempted to brush past me toward the exit, but I effectively impeded his progress. "And where precisely do you believe you are headed, my friend?" "I am departing. This is a private matter between you and your wife." "Ah, no. You are an integral participant in this discourse. Be seated." "I am under no obligation to endure this." I retrieved my baseball bat from its resting place against the wall. "I reiterate," I stated, "be seated." Chris reluctantly occupied the edge of my bed, still encumbered by my bathrobe draped over his hastily donned trousers. The irony was not lost upon me. "Here is precisely what will transpire," I announced, addressing both individuals. "Firstly, you will elucidate to Lydia's parents the precise duration of this clandestine affair." "Dave, I implore you," Lydia whispered. "For how long?" Alan demanded. Lydia averted her gaze to the floor. 6 months. 6 months, I repeated. 6 months of fabricated late nights, business dinners, and team-building exercises. 6 months of perpetrating deception directly to my face, day after day. "It was not intended to transpire this way," Chris ventured. "It simply developed organically." "Organically," Judith scoffed. "There is nothing natural about adultery, young man." "Mrs. Hartwell, you are unable to comprehend the professional pressures we encounter. Lydia and we share a connection on a professional level that—" "Cease speaking," I commanded. "Simply cease with your corporate jargon. You harbored an intention to engage in intimacy with my wife, and you acted upon it. At the very least, possess the fortitude to acknowledge it." Alan stepped forward. "Lydia, direct your gaze towards me." She raised her eyes to meet her father's stern expression. "Your mother and I instilled within you a higher standard of conduct. We imparted lessons regarding commitment, honor, and the sanctity of one's word. What has become of those fundamental values?" "I am uncertain," she murmured. I felt constrained, as though my existence had devolved into mere routine. Chris made me feel alive once more. Alive, I echoed. Well, let us ascertain how alive you feel when every individual at your workplace is privy to the security footage. Chris's countenance became ashen. What security footage? I inquired. A subtle smile played upon my lips. The cameras I installed 3 weeks ago. They have been meticulously documenting every interaction, every clandestine embrace, every intimate touch, every instance of you engaging in infidelity with my wife within the confines of my home. High definition, with impeccable audio fidelity. You cannot legally do that, Lydia asserted. Actually, that is not entirely accurate. This is my residence. Consequently, I possess the absolute right to install security cameras. Furthermore, I retain the prerogative to disseminate the recorded footage to whomever I deem appropriate. Dave, I implore you, she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. Consider Maya. Think of our daughter. I am indeed contemplating Maya. I am considering the fact that she deserves far better than a mother who perpetuates deceit, engages in infidelity, and introduces unfamiliar men into our family home. I am not an unfamiliar man, Chris protested. I have attended your barbecues, your Christmas festivities. Precisely. You have graced our gatherings, partaken of my sustenance, imbibed my beverages, and conspired to seduce my wife. That, in actuality, renders the situation even more egregious, does it not? Judith directed a look of profound revulsion towards her daughter. How could you inflict such disgrace upon your family, upon your marital vows? You fail to comprehend the reality of being married to him, Lydia countered, gesturing in my direction. He is perpetually occupied with work, perpetually covered in sawdust, and exhibits a distinct lack of enthusiasm for venturing out or pursuing any form of exciting endeavor. Therefore, you opted to seek excitement elsewhere, did you not? I surmised. Problem effectively resolved. Alan shook his head. We are departing. Judith, come. Wait, I interjected. There is more. I retrieved my mobile device and navigated to the photo gallery. Chris, you might find this of interest. I presented him with an image I had captured of his BMW parked in my driveway, clearly displaying his license plate. I have been diligently documenting every detail. Dates, times, the duration of your visits, the items you bring with you. I possess 3 weeks' worth of evidence meticulously illustrating a pattern of consistent adultery. What is your objective? Chris inquired. My objective is for you to comprehend that your current existence is irrevocably over. Your companion Jessica will undoubtedly be apprised of this situation. Your colleagues will be informed. Your CrossFit associates will learn of your indiscretions. Everyone will become aware that Chris Brennan is precisely the type of individual who preys upon married women. You scoundrel, he spat. I am the scoundrel? I am not the individual who has been engaging in illicit relations with another man's wife for the past 6 months. Lydia rose, drawing the sheet protectively around herself. Very well. You desire a divorce. You shall have a divorce. However, I will not permit you to systematically dismantle my life over this transgression. Your life? I exclaimed with derision. My dear woman, you irrevocably shattered your own existence the very moment you introduced him into our marital bed. The court will interpret this as harassment, she declared. You cannot simply humiliate us publicly and expect to escape accountability. Actually, I can. Every action I intend to undertake is entirely within the bounds of legality. The dissemination of security footage captured within my own residence is perfectly legal. Conveying the truth regarding my observations is also legal. Ensuring that everyone comprehends the true nature of your character is completely within legal parameters. Chris stood resolutely. I am departing now. Certainly, I assented, stepping aside. However, Chris, you might wish to inspect your vehicle prior to commencing your journey home. He shoved past me and descended the stairs with heavy, angry strides. A minute later, we heard him emitting a prolonged scream from the driveway. "What have you done?" Lydia demanded. "Nothing illegal," I stated. "However, you might consider observing through the window." She moved towards the window and let out a strangled gasp. I had spray-painted the words, "Home Wrecker," across Chris's windshield in bold crimson lettering. "You cannot do that." "I just did, and this is merely the commencement." Alan placed his arm around his wife's shoulders. "Judith, we are returning home. Lydia, do not bother contacting us until you have formulated a sincere apology for this profound disgrace." After her parents departed, Lydia turned to confront me, her eyes blazing with animosity. "You believe yourself to be exceedingly astute, do you not? Do you perceive that you have achieved some form of victory here?" "I believe I have illuminated the unvarnished truth. All else constitutes merely the inevitable repercussions. I will ensure your financial ruin during the divorce proceedings. I shall claim half of everything, including your cherished workshop. I wish you the best of luck with that endeavor. You see, adultery remains a valid ground for a fault-based divorce within this jurisdiction, and I possess an abundance of incontrovertible evidence." She regarded me for a prolonged moment, and I could discern the wheels turning in her mind, attempting to formulate her subsequent strategy. "Maya will despise you for this," she declared finally. "Maya will despise the individual responsible for fracturing our family. That would be you, in the event that you harbor any confusion." I turned and proceeded towards the exit. "Where are you going?" she called after me. "Out. This is still my residence for the present, but I find the atmosphere here unbearable." I drove directly to Murphy's Tavern, where Eddie was awaiting my arrival, a beer in hand and a receptive ear ready. "How did it conclude?" he inquired. "More favorably than anticipated. Her parents bore witness to the entire episode. Chris is likely still attempting to extricate paint from his windshield." "Excellent for you, man. That took considerable courage." "Eddie, I require another favor." "State it." "I need you to inadvertently let slip a few details about the events that transpired. You know, a casual conversation." Eddie grinned. "Inadvertently? I can certainly manage that." Murphy's Tavern was precisely the sort of establishment where everyone was intimately familiar with everyone else's personal affairs. By closing time, a significant portion of the neighborhood would be cognizant of Lydia Mitchell's infidelity with a corporate, pretty boy. I was nursing my third beer when my mobile device began to buzz with incoming text messages. The initial communication was from Mrs. Feldman. "Dear, I observed that young man departing your residence with considerable haste. Is everything satisfactory?" I responded via text. "Everything is now satisfactory, Mrs. Feldman. Thank you for maintaining your vigil." The subsequent message was from Chris. "You will regret what you did to my vehicle." I replied, "Forward me the repair invoice. I shall frame it." The third communication originated from Lydia. "We need to converse." I deliberately disregarded this message. The fourth communication was from my daughter Maya. "Dad, Mom is crying uncontrollably and refuses to disclose the reason for her distress. Where are you?" That particular message sobered me instantly. I promptly telephoned Maya. "Hello, my darling." "Dad, what is happening? Mom has been confined to your bedroom for 2 hours, and there is red paint smeared all over the driveway. I shall be home within 20 minutes. We must have a discussion. Is everything all right?" "No, my dear. Everything is most certainly not all right." but it will be. I drove home, dreading the forthcoming conversation. Maya possessed considerable intelligence and displayed maturity beyond her years, yet she remained my little girl. How does one apprise a 16-year-old daughter that her mother is a deceitful adulteress? Maya was awaiting my arrival in the living room when I entered. Lydia was conspicuously absent. "Dad, you are alarming me. What transpired?" I sat beside her on the sofa. "Maya, your mother and I have made the decision to divorce." Her facial expression contorted with distress. "Why? What did you do?" "I did nothing, my sweet. Your mother has been seeing another man." "What do you mean, seeing another man?" "I mean, she has been engaged in an extramarital affair for the past 6 months. Maya stared at me, processing this devastating information. "Are you certain?" "I possess video evidence." "Oh my God." She buried her face in her hands. "Who is it?" "Someone from her workplace. It is of little consequence who it is." "It does matter. I want to know who has destroyed our family." I exhaled slowly. "His name is Chris Brennan. You have encountered him at company functions. The gentleman with the ostentatious vehicle. The one who invariably discusses his fitness regimen. That is him." Maya remained silent for an extended period. Then she articulated, "I detest her. Do not speak in such terms. She remains your mother. She is a liar and a cheat. How could she inflict such pain upon us?" "I cannot offer an explanation, my dear. Individuals occasionally make regrettable choices." "Regrettable choices, Dad. This is not a regrettable choice. This is malevolent." Before I could utter a word, Lydia materialized at the top of the staircase. "Maya, can we talk?" "No," Maya stated with unwavering resolve. "I have no desire to speak with you. Please, sweetheart, allow me to offer an explanation." "An explanation for what?" "How you've been deceiving us for 6 months. How you invited your boyfriend into our residence." Lydia descended the steps with a deliberate slowness. "It's complex, Maya. You don't grasp the intricacies of adult relationships." "I understand betrayal," Maya retorted sharply. "I understand deceit. I understand that you've dismantled our family out of sheer ennui." "That's not fair," Lydia pleaded. "Fair?" Maya's voice escalated as she stood. "You wish to discuss fairness? Is it fair that your father had to discover his wife's infidelity by installing surveillance equipment? Is it fair that I have to learn my mother is a deceiver?" "Maya, please." "No, I'm going to stay with my grandparents, the Hartwells. I cannot even bear to look at you right now." Maya bolted upstairs to pack a travel bag. Lydia turned to me, her eyes pleading. "Dave, please, help me mend this." "Mend this?" "Lydia, you cannot mend this. You've fractured something irrevocably. It was a lapse in judgment, a foolish, calamitous lapse." "A lapse is forgetting to buy milk from the grocery store. This was a deliberate choice. 6 months of choices. I'll end things with Chris. I'll do whatever you deem necessary. It's far too late for such measures. Immeasurably too late." Maya reappeared downstairs, her overnight bag in hand. "I've contacted Grandma. She's coming to collect me." "Maya, I implore you, don't leave," Lydia begged. "We can navigate this together as a family." "We are no longer a family," Maya declared icily. "You ensured that." 20 minutes later, Judith Hartwell arrived to escort her granddaughter home. She offered Lydia no acknowledgement whatsoever. After their departure, the house felt cavernous and frigid. Lydia and I stood in our living room like strangers. "So, what's the plan now?" she inquired. "Now, you pack a bag and find alternative accommodation. I will initiate divorce proceedings tomorrow." "This is my home too." "Not any longer. You see, I conducted some research today. In a fault-based divorce predicated on adultery, the unblemished spouse retains possession of the marital residence, particularly when concrete video evidence of the infidelity within said home exists. Her complexion drained of color. You cannot evict me. I'm not evicting you. I'm requesting that you depart voluntarily. Should you refuse, I will arrange for your removal. You cad. I'm the cad? Really? After the entirety of your transgressions, I am cast as the villain here. She retreated upstairs to pack. While she was absent, I contacted my legal counsel, Jim Patterson, leaving a detailed message outlining the predicament. When Lydia reappeared with her suitcase, I was positioned by the front entrance. Where will you go? I asked. Chris's apartment, I suppose. Excellent. You two are perfectly suited for each other. She hesitated at the threshold. Dave, I am genuinely contrite. No, you are not. You are contrite for being apprehended. There's a fundamental distinction. After her departure, I poured myself a generous measure of whiskey and retreated to my workshop, surrounded by the artisanal furniture I had crafted with my own hands. Every cherished element of my existence, my marital union, my family, my aspirations for the future, had been obliterated by my wife's profound self-centeredness. Yet my undertaking was far from concluded, not by a considerable margin. The ensuing morning, I awoke with a pervasive headache and a meticulously formed strategy. My initial contact was with Jim Patterson. Dave, I received your message. My word, what a predicament. Jim, my objective is to dismantle both of them through legal channels. What are my available avenues? Well, you possess sufficient grounds for a fault-based divorce, which suggests you will likely retain the residence, secure primary custody of Maya, and achieve a favorable division of assets. Regarding the boyfriend, if he entered your domicile without authorization, that could constitute trespassing. What about their professional lives? They are colleagues. If their liaison contravenes company regulations, that becomes their concern. Do you have any indication if their employer maintains a policy against fraternization? I will ascertain that. My subsequent call was directed to Lydia's superior, Regional Director Patricia Walsh. I had encountered Patricia on several occasions at corporate gatherings. She was a no-nonsense executive who managed with considerable rigor. Patricia, this is Dave Mitchell, Lydia's husband. Oh, hello, Dave. How are you? I've experienced better days. I'm contacting you because I believed you should be apprised of the fact that Lydia and Chris Brennan have been engaged in an illicit affair for the past 6 months. A protracted silence ensued. That is a remarkably grave assertion, Dave. I possess video documentation, surveillance footage from my residence, depicting them together on numerous occasions during work hours. I see. Would you be able to furnish me with that evidence? I will transmit it to you this afternoon. Dave, I must inquire. Are you absolutely certain you wish to pursue this course of action? Once I receive that evidence, I will be compelled to act. Patricia, they have been utilizing company time and resources to conduct their clandestine relationship. Chris has been present at my home during business hours. They have been disseminating falsehoods to their colleagues regarding their entanglement. Yes, I am absolutely certain I want you to examine the evidence. I understand. Forward me what you have. Following our conversation, I dedicated 2 hours to meticulously editing the surveillance footage into a comprehensive presentation. I incorporated timestamps clearly indicating Chris's vehicle in my driveway during business hours, audio recordings of them discussing professional matters while in an intimate setting, and unambiguous visual captures of both their visages to preclude any ambiguity regarding their identities. I dispatched the file to Patricia, accompanied by a detailed chronological account and a roster of dates when the affair had transpired during designated business hours. Subsequently, I placed a call to Mrs. Feldman. "Mrs. Feldman, it's Dave Mitchell." "Oh, hello, dear. How are you enduring?" "I am managing." "Mrs. Feldman, I wish to express my gratitude for keeping a watchful eye on the premises. Your diligence enabled me to uncover my wife's infidelity." "Oh, my goodness. I sensed something was amiss. That silver vehicle was present quite frequently during the day." "Yes. Well, I simply wanted you to be aware in the event anyone makes inquiries. Lydia and I are undergoing a divorce." "Naturally, dear. Is there anything at all I can do to assist?" "Actually, if anyone inquires about what you observed, please feel entirely at liberty to relay the unvarnished truth." Mrs. Feldman proved more effective than any neighborhood gazette for disseminating information. By evening, the entire vicinity would be cognizant of Lydia's indiscretion. My telephone rang around midday. It was Chris. "You reprobate," he declared without preamble. "A pleasant morning to you as well, Chris. Patricia Walsh has just summoned me to her office. She has viewed your rather diminutive video presentation." "And how did that transpire?" "We have both been suspended pending a thorough investigation. Should they uncover evidence of professional malfeasance, we could face dismissal." "Indeed, that sounds quite dire. Perhaps you should have contemplated that before you decided to engage in clandestine liaisons with married women during designated work hours. You are jeopardizing our careers over a personal matter." "A personal matter?" "Chris, you transformed it into a professional concern the moment you began appropriating company time to conduct your affair. You made it my concern the instant you commenced doing so within the confines of my residence. Lydia is utterly devastated." "Splendid. She ought to be devastated. She ought to be mortified, utterly humiliated, and profoundly remorseful for her actions. We never intended for this to transpire." "Lies. You intended every single aspect of it to transpire. You simply did not intend to be discovered." He abruptly terminated the call. An hour later, Lydia phoned. "Dave, I implore you. You must contact Patricia Walsh and inform her that you fabricated this narrative." "I did not fabricate anything." "You did. They are poised to dismiss us both. Is that truly your aspiration? For me to forfeit my livelihood?" "Lydia, your professional standing is of no consequence to me. Nor is Chris's. My sole concern is the fact that you have irrevocably fractured our marriage and profoundly humiliated our daughter. I will do anything. I will attend therapy. I will cease all contact with Chris. I will." "It is too late." "It is not too late. We can rectify this." "No, we cannot. And even if the possibility existed, I would not wish to. You have revealed your true character to me, Lydia. You are not the woman I wed. You are not the woman with whom I wish to spend the remainder of my days." She was weeping now. "Please, Dave. I love you." "No, you do not. Had you loved me, you would never have acted in such a manner." I disconnected the call and deactivated my mobile device. That evening, Maya contacted me from her grandparents' residence. "Dad," she began, "Mom visited here in tears, pleading with Grandma and Grandpa to intercede with you." "And what did they convey to her?" "Grandpa informed her that she has created her own predicament and must now confront its consequences. Grandma refused to even permit her entry into the house." "And how are you faring, my dear?" "I am indignant. I am sorrowful, but I am also proud of you for defending yourself. Thank you, kiddo. That signifies a great deal." "Dad, will you be all right?" "Yes, Maya. I shall be perfectly fine. We both shall." 2 days subsequently, Jim Patterson contacted me with an update. "Dave, I have both favorable and unfavorable tidings." Present the unfavorable news first. Lydia has retained legal counsel. She intends to contest the divorce. And the favorable news. Her attorney is demonstrably incompetent. He is attempting to assert that your security cameras were installed unlawfully, rendering the footage inadmissible. Is his contention accurate? Not remotely. You possess every legal right to install surveillance equipment within your own domicile. The footage is unequivocally admissible and highly incriminating. What of the professional repercussions? I've received information through unofficial channels that both Lydia and Chris were terminated yesterday for contravening company policy. A wave of profound satisfaction washed over me. Really? Indeed. Apparently, your video presentation was exceptionally thorough. Their company maintains a stringent policy against fraternization among employees, and engaging in personal relationships during work hours constitutes grounds for immediate dismissal. So, they are both unemployed. Both unemployed. Both facing contentious divorce proceedings, and both grappling with the social ramifications of their conduct. Excellent. The concluding element of my retribution materialized the subsequent weekend. Eddie contacted me on Saturday morning. Dave, you need to come down to the bar immediately. Why? What is transpiring? Chris is here. He's profoundly inebriated and is disparaging you incessantly. I arrived within 10 minutes. Chris was at the bar, demonstrably intoxicated, regaling anyone who would listen with tales of me being a psychopathic control freak who had irrevocably ruined his existence over a triviality. Triviality? I inquired, approaching him from behind. You characterize 6 months of intimate relations with my wife as a mere trifle. He turned, swaying precariously. Dave, the man of the hour has arrived. Chris, you are intoxicated. Go home. I no longer possess a home. Thanks to you, I cannot afford my apartment. Thanks to you, I am jobless. Thanks to you, my paramour has abandoned me. Thanks to me, Chris. I did not compel you to commit adultery. I did not compel you to propagate falsehoods. I did not compel you to obliterate 2 families. That was entirely your own volition. You orchestrated this. You were aware of our impending arrival that evening. I was aware because you have been visiting for 6 months. I was aware because you are both remarkably poor liars. The bar had fallen silent. All patrons were observing our confrontation. Do you desire the unvarnished truth? Chris bellowed. Your wife approached me. She stated that you were insipid in bed, insipid in life, insipid in every conceivable aspect that holds significance. That was it. I seized Chris by his shirt and forcefully propelled him against the bar. You wish to discuss insipidity. Let us discuss how you are a 34-year-old man whose zenith occurred during high school. Let us discuss how you must resort to seducing married women because no unattached woman can tolerate your detestable behavior for more than a single month. Release your grip upon me. Let us discuss how you are unemployed, without a dwelling, and universally reviled by everyone aware of your perfidy. I released him and stepped back. You are pathetic, Chris. You were pathetic when you were surreptitiously engaging with my wife, and you remain pathetic now. He attempted to strike me. I easily evaded his clumsy lunge and watched him stumble past me, colliding with a table. Eddie, I instructed. Arrange for a taxi. He has concluded his engagement here. As Chris was unceremoniously escorted from the establishment, still muttering threats and insults, I realized my retribution was now absolute. Lydia had forfeited her employment, her family, her reputation, and her future. Chris had suffered an equally devastating loss. Their illicit affair had exacted a price far exceeding their wildest imaginings. I exited Murphy's Tavern into the cool night air, experiencing a profound sense of liberation I hadn't felt in months. Tomorrow, I would commence the arduous task of reconstructing my life. Tonight, I was finally, unequivocally, free. Maya returned to reside with me the following week. We indulged in pizza and cinematic entertainment, as it was in our bygone days when she was a child. "Dad," she remarked during a commercial interlude. "Yes, I am pleased you defended yourself. I am pleased you did not permit them to escape accountability." "Me too, kiddo. Me too." 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. I retained ownership of the residence, achieved primary custody of Maya, and acquired the majority of our shared assets. Lydia was awarded a modest settlement and weekend visitation privileges. She relocated to another state with the remainder of her financial reserves. Chris rejoined his parental household. I maintained the security camera system,